Hello, it's Silver, and this time we've got Absolum. Absolum is a 2D brawler using roguelite mechanics and an absolutely fantastic art style. In fact, the whole game's presentation is wonderful. It has that feeling of a ton of work and love being poured into every aspect of it. Not to mention the soundtrack is amazing and well worthy of listening to outside of the game. I'll get onto why that is soon. In my view, when we're talking about brawlers, the name of the game is diversity. You want diversity in content, tons of stuff to see and do, characters to play, bosses to fight, etc. A brawler is heavily carried by its variety. It's why games like, say, the Streets of Rage series are considered classics, and why sequels like Golden Axe 2 are considered solid entries, as they enhance the variety of the original. Roguelites are also carried by gameplay variety. It's a key part of the formula, so we've got a game here that basically requires a lot of it, and actually manages to deliver in some really fun ways. This is also a pretty challenging game. I've only managed to get through a run once, and the content has enough variance that you can't exactly memorize an exact path through the game, as things tend to change around quite a bit. I'll go ahead and mention that the game is $25 and worth every bit of that price. It's also co-op if you'd like, and has online play you can opt into as well. Basically, for that price you're getting a pretty big game with a solid amount of content and excellent polish in every corner. How this game looks is one of its strongest aspects, which is saying a lot since basically every aspect of the game is quite strong. It uses this beautiful hand-drawn art that looks beyond fantastic. I think a lot of people would call it graphic novel inspired, which makes sense to me, but it reminds me of something else. I'm not sure how popular this is, but it kind of reminds me of like late season Samurai Jack if you took out the cyberpunk and technological themes and replaced them with dark fantasy. The art for the characters, bosses, and enemies is extremely well done, with tons of charm, and also great themes carried by color. Every playable character has a specific color that represents them. All the elemental powers are a certain color, and enemy factions have this too, like the Sun King's forces being armored in black and red. I think the way this game uses color is extra important because of the environments. They're also like a vibrant and detailed look. Yeah, they never use the same colors as you or the enemies do, which helps to prevent it from being hard to see what's happening in combat. Later on in the run, this can get pretty important with all the visually impressive areas and high enemy counts and all that, so it's easy to appreciate the visual clarity this style can bring to the game. But the excellent art isn't the only thing the characters have going for them. There's also the animation. I assume the animations are hand-drawn frame by frame, and if that's the case, they really went out of their way to draw loads of frames for each animation, making them detailed and super smooth. Attack animations are snappy and responsive, special attacks, spells, and ultimates also look amazing, and even the enemies get in on the action, with fodder and bosses also having detailed animations that hook into the battle mechanics in terms of their snappiness. It's also important because you need to be able to see them for parrying and stuff. Environment art is something special, as it seems to have layer upon layer of detail well into the fore and background, and it makes exploration give you that lost wanderlust feel due to how engrossing each place is. It's really impressive to me just how much is going on in the environments, given the number of them, and especially seeing as how you won't traverse all of them in any given run. As you go through any screen, your eyes will kind of wander, and you'll only appreciate the sheer detail after several seconds to actually look at it all. It's the kind of thing where you'll get a cursory glance and be impressed, then look in the back and see something cool and be like, wait, whoa. And then while looking at that, you'll notice something even farther back, and you'll just keep being more and more engrossed in these multi-layered areas. So this is a game that clearly had about 10,000 collective hours poured into its art and animation. You can just tell by looking at it and that it was like a clearly real love and passion for the medium. But what else goes with an amazing art style? Music. The music of Absolum is something special too, and they got some serious names to contribute to the soundtrack. The foundation of the music is done by Gareth Coker, the guy behind the Ori and the Blind Forest soundtrack. But we've also got tracks from names like Motoi Sakuraba, who was behind the soundtracks for several games and series like Golden Sun, Star Ocean, and the Tales games. However, he's probably best known right now for composing the Dark Souls soundtrack, as well as contributing to Dark Souls 2 and 3. The big names continue with Yuka Kitamura, someone I really admire. She's behind most of the Dark Souls 3 music, including the iconic Soul of Cinder theme. She's also behind Bloodborne, Sekiro, and Elden Ring music, so you could say she has just a little bit of talent here and there. We've also got a track from Mick Gordon, who created the song for the Underking, the big boss of the first half of the game. This track is incredible. It's basically Thal with cartoon horns, and it goes so hard it's almost illegal. So basically, the audiovisual presentation of Absolum is absolutely top-notch in every way, and easily cements the game as a must-look into for fans of any of its styles and themes. But even though so much effort was spent on the presentation, doesn't mean the gameplay suffered at all. Mechanically, this is a Brawler first and a Roguelite second. You'll choose a character and be off rather quickly, but you'll find there are plenty of smaller details you'll have to figure out as you go. Every character has a light combo as well as a special attack. You can also use these in the air, and tilting the stick can change them around a bit depending on who you're playing. You can also grab dudes and smack them, as well as throw them around. Heavy hits, throws, and launchers can send enemies flying, where they bounce off floors, walls, and other enemies for extra damage. This means the combat scape can be pretty hectic, with loads of attacks going off and dudes being thrown everywhere. These guys clearly understand that players want a chaotic form of combat with enemies being launched to give that satisfaction you get in a Brawler. Every character also comes equipped with an Arcana, a spell-like attack that uses one full chunk of that blue mana meter you see up there under your health gauge. You can generally cancel into these easily during combos, and they tend to be very strong. You'll start with one per character, but one of the meta progression currencies can unlock more of them. Each character actually has 6 to choose from. When you start a run, one random Arcana will be lit up in gold and give you a boost of radiance, basically experience, if you choose it. This is a mechanic lifted from Hades and Hades 2. It's a smart idea, as it encourages players to change things around and experiment without actually forcing them to. After a certain amount of progression, you'll also unlock an ultimate, powerful attack that you can only start with one charge of, and very occasionally get more, but don't count on it. You have a dash that has the ability to deflect attacks like a parry. When you dash forward, you'll notice a little blue spark in front of your character for just a second. As long as this spark is there, you'll deflect attacks you run into. Deflecting melee hits can knock enemies off balance, and quick hits on them before they recover are considered punishes and do significant extra damage. Deflects on projectiles will instead send them back where they came from with surprising damage and speed. You can also press up or down while dashing to dodge in that direction instead. Dodging a hit and pressing the attack button right after will automatically dash you back where you were and is also considered a punish. Attacks that flash red can't be deflected, but can be dodged. However, you can also clash these attacks, pressing the special attack or Arcana buttons with the right timing so that the two hits meet each other in the air is called a clash, and will cancel the enemy's attack and open them up for huge retaliation damage, but the timing needed to do this can be really tricky. All of these tools are necessary to succeed, and as you get farther into a run, the game will expect you know how to use them effectively. This means the combat is focused around reading enemy animations and effects to know which response to use for maximum damage, almost like a fighting game. As you clear screens, you'll get various rewards to make you stronger. The main one are crystals that will be broken into 2 choices of what are called rituals. These are powerful elemental effects that can apply to basically anything in your arsenal, from dashes to basic hits, clashes, and Arcana. These belong to one specific element and have a level from 1 to 3 denoting how strong they are. Each element has a set of themes and effects they can apply. Fire has burn and explosions, wind has pressure and tornadoes, lightning will give you these stationary sparks that hit really hard, as well as chain lightning you can build up. You'll also find passive gear items and various rarities to help you create your build. Many of these items can also be stacked to enhance their effects. The elements are a cool facet of the game because using each of them is like a little puzzle to figure out how best to apply whatever it is they do. When you first start out, the element choice will be very limited, but as you explore, you'll find these bound crystals you can release that'll unlock new elements and many associated rituals you can find in runs from then on. Each of these is really satisfying to find since they represent entire mechanics and build types being unlocked. When you start, you'll notice that the screen has 2 visible exits. This is a common thing. Each one leads to a different route through the area with different situations and a different boss. Often, each of these routes will themselves split off again later on, but you'll always eventually find your way to the Underking as the final boss of the first area. Both major areas work like this, and it gives a huge amount of variance to each run. You'll often have runs where entirely new things happen that weren't there before. It's clear they wanted to spend a lot of time on content variety to ensure the game didn't easily get repetitive. Like I mentioned, too much repetition is the enemy of both the Roguelite and the Brawler, so it makes sense that they spent so much time creating diverse situations to find yourself in. It's pretty cool to go through an area you went to last time and suddenly everything is on fire and there are different enemies than before. Each screen is like an event, basically. Usually there are several possible variants that could spawn, some relating to what happened last time. In the traditional roguelite formula, you have like modular pieces, right, that can change places. Like piece A was connected to piece B last run, but this time it connects to piece D. Absolum doesn't feel like that. There aren't random pieces that assemble differently. Rather, each area has a specific progression of zones, but what exactly is happening in each zone can differ. If you take one path from the start, you'll end up in the forest fighting goblins, including events like a raft ride that can go a bit differently sometimes, or even be replaced with a different zone entirely, rarely. Eventually, you'll reach a big boy boss, and if you beat them, you'll take a wood elevator up the trees to safe zone. Sometimes a bunch of grenades will drop before the elevator if the goblins are particularly upset with you. If you take the other path from the start, you'll venture up the coast and fight animals for a bit, then guards as you reach a settlement. Sometimes this settlement is full of guards ready to defend against you, other times it's on fire and there are goblins raiding it, so those two factions will fight each other and you. Then you'll reach a large guard captain boss with a kite shield that's hard to break through, and a horn that can call more guards to his side during the fight. Beat him, and you'll go to the end of the town as a safe zone. Along the way, there are other possible choices and splits too. You may be able to hop down into a dangerous misty forest full of ghosts and things, and if you have a certain NPC with you, he can tell you the trick to navigating to the heart of the forest as a secret location. You may also be told about a secret third path at the start. At a certain checkpoint, there may be some NPCs you can pay to get in on their heist, opening up a new area you couldn't get to before. After this new event, you'll go back down to the main path, and the next run after that, the NPCs involved might give you a reward for your help. These are only a few possibilities, and only in the first area before the Underking, so you can probably see how all this optional and varying content can help to keep the runs from getting stale. In certain areas, there'll be a camp called a Hearth Root. You can rest at these for a small heal once per camp. Bosses tend to be pretty involved, requiring good use of the mechanics, and the final bosses of each island are much harder and need mastery of your character. Each boss has at least 2 phases, and often the second phase adds a surprising number of new attacks to learn and can generally kill you quite quickly. After a boss, you'll enter a safe zone where you can talk, get a big one-time heal that seems to be about 50% or so, and sometimes hire NPCs to fight with you for some gold. There'll also be at least one shop with some gear, and sometimes rituals for gold. If you buy from the gear shop, you'll earn progress towards stamps on a card he gives you. Every time you make it to a new stamp, the shop will be upgraded in some way. Occasionally there may be some other events that spawn in these areas depending on what NPCs are present, so it's worth it to look around before you move on. Meta progression in this game is very robust, with several different currencies and things to unlock. As you go through a run, you'll get Radiance as a resource. Doing better in battle and stringing together more impressive combos will earn you more of it, as well as taking down bosses and reaching various milestones. When the run is over, this is tallied up and applied to your Radiance level. As it increases, you'll get 2 different currencies from it, roots and flowers. You'll also get crystals for exploring as room rewards and breakable things rarely, and also from stronger versions of enemies that glow orange and don't flinch much. The crystals can be spent at a tree in the hub. This tree has several tiers of upgrades increasing in price as they go. Extra maximum health, more mana segments, more starting gold, higher hearth root heals, and many other things await on this tree to slowly make you stronger. The roots are spent at an NPC that lets you use them to buy more Arcana for each character, as well as 2 passive character-specific milestones. These are important, as they are all quite strong and tend to have a big place in the build variety you might want to go for. You'll start with 2 characters, but as you progress, you'll find new ones to bring back and play as, each with their own style and Arcana to unlock. The flowers take a bit more progression to unlock the use of, but eventually you'll find an NPC that lets you use them to unlock new rituals of each element to find, expanding the possibilities in each run with new powers to come across. There's even an NPC at the hub that teaches you about each combat mechanic and lets you practice them. I'd recommend going through these because they're all important to learn, and her way of letting you try them out is very helpful for understanding how to use each one quickly. So you put all this together and you get a fantastically varied and interesting game that has a deep version of that just one more run feeling that many of us are looking for in this genre. It does so much that contributes to both the roguelite and brawler side of its DNA, and it ends up creating an experience that feels light and easy to jump into, yet also has plenty of challenge, depth, and complex combat waiting for you to find it. It even has an accessibility option that lets you vary how much damage you deal and take, that you can use solo and local, not online for obvious reasons. I think this is a fantastic option to have for people who have mobility problems or even maybe like one hand, and also people that are just having a really hard time. I will say I think the default difficulty is very well balanced and offers a fair challenge that keeps up the pressure without veering into artificiality. You can even use the accessibility options to amplify the challenge if you want. There not just there for reducing the difficulty. I think Absolum is a truly fantastic game, being both a wonderful example of a varied brawler and a great way to make an interesting roguelite. If the amazing art and animation don't catch your attention, maybe the excellent music will, with its soundtrack full of hard-hitting names used very well to allow their specialties to shine through. And then, after all that, you still have a wonderful game underneath with satisfying combat and complex mechanics that'll definitely keep you interested if you like either genre on display here. If you're at all a fan of brawlers or roguelites, I think this officially entrenches itself as a must-play. If you don't enjoy roguelites and are kinda on the fence, there is a demo you could try to see if you feel the combat mechanics and the brawler side of things are integrated well enough to avoid your problems with the genre. It's possible you'll still find something to enjoy here in a similar way many did in the Hades games, but it's also possible that you won't be able to get on with it, which is okay too. To be fair, brawlers are already meant to be games with relatively short campaigns that are traditionally repeatable, so I don't think the combination here feels unnatural. I'll leave a link to the Steam page down below if you'd like to show your interest, and you know what, I'll also link down there to the demo for the game since it isn't easily found on the main Absolum page. Thank you a ton for watching, and I'll see you next time.